This is a world where the goddess blesses a class to everyone upon turning 10, and based on this class, people develop their skills later in life. Arel's family is overjoyed today because Arel has turned 10 today and is about to learn about his class. Arel's mother, Farah, is a legendary sword princess, and his father, Leon, is a legendary archmage. He also has a younger sister who adores Arel. After breakfast, they go to the church to find out about Arel's class. The priest calls the children one by one. The priest places his hand on each child's head to determine their class. Most children receive classes related to their parents, such as a blacksmith's son receiving blacksmithing, and a swordsman's son receiving fencing. Therefore, when Arel's turn comes, everyone's attention is riveted on him because his parents have very advanced classes. But when the priest places his hand on Arel's head, he sees nothing from the goddess, which makes him believe Arel is a classless child, uneducated by God. This is hard to believe for everyone, but Arel doesn't seem to mind. After returning home, Arel begins his usual fencing practice. However, his parents suspect he's depressed, so they try to cheer him up. Arel explains that he's not upset because he's been practicing fencing with his mother since childhood, so he's confident he can do it even without classes. His parents are overjoyed to hear him and believe he'll grow up to be a great man. Bored by their talk, Arel heads to the fencing ground to practice. There he sees two boys practicing, who have just recently received their classes. Seeing Arel, they ask him why he's come to the ground. Arel explains that he's come to practice like them. However, the boys say they don't need to practice like him because their classes have made them better swordsmen. Arel doesn't like this, so he challenges them to a fencing match, and the boys accept. Before the fight begins, the boys ask Arel about his divine protection, and Arel reveals that he also possesses it. Divine protection is granted to everyone at birth, protecting them from harm. However, its effectiveness diminishes if repeatedly attacked. As the fight begins, the boy attacks Arel with all his might, thinking he will easily defeat him. However, when Arel easily blocks his attack each time, he asks his partner to attack Arel as well. Arel dodges this sudden attack and realizes that despite their class, they are not very good swordsmen. He then launches a swift attack, knocking one boy to the ground, and then defeats the other by striking him in the neck. But when the boys accuse Arel of cheating and demand a rematch, a red-haired boy tells them to give up because none of their excuses will be useful in a real fight. Then when the boy asks Arel if his mother is the legendary swordswoman Farah, Arel answers in the affirmative. The boy then challenges Arel to a fight, saying that both boys are weak and he is a real swordsman. This convinces the two boys that the red-haired boy is a relative of the head guard. When the boy confirms he's Captain Evan's son, Arel remembers his father constantly coming to his mother for help with demon hunting. The boy's frustration stems from the fact that Arel's mother is considered the best swordsman in the area, while his father is also a very good swordsman. So, the boy challenges Arel to a fight to prove his family is superior to Arel's. Arel accepts. Before the fight begins, the boy tells Arel that he's been training under his father for a year, and has become a mid-level swordsman. Arel responds by revealing that he also trained under his mother. The fight begins. The red-haired boy launches attacks at Arel, and Arel blocks his attacks with his own sword. The attacks are so intense that the boys nearby are amazed that Arel is able to keep up with the mid-level boy without any class. The boy continues to attack Arel, and Arel realizes that his anger has slowed his attacks. But when he tries to take advantage of this and attack him, the boy attacks Arel with a twin-blade slice, causing Arel to slam into the wall and injure him. When Arel asks the boy about the attack, the boy explains that it's a skill that uses two simultaneous attacks. Arel is forced to surrender. Several days later, when his sister tries to wake him, Arel falls into a deeper sleep. However, when she starts to disturb him, he gets up and leaves the room. Outside, his mother has prepared breakfast. After eating breakfast, Arel leaves the house as usual. His sister becomes worried about him, seeing him go out like this every day after losing that day. Her mother tells her not to worry and takes her to the chest where the broken swords were kept. Arel hasn't given up after his defeat. He practices daily and breaks several swords daily, so she has nothing to worry about. In a nearby forest, Arel is practicing his swordsmanship as usual. He contemplates the skill the red-haired boy used and finally succeeds in mastering it. Suddenly, a goblin attacks him from behind, but Arel defeats it with his new skill. Then, he hears a loud monster roar, followed by a scream of a boy. Arel thinks someone needs help, so he heads in the direction of the sound. After a short distance, he sees the same red-haired boy with his hand bleeding. A large hobgoblin is charging towards him, ready to attack him. The boy is holding a sword, but he is terrified and fears he will die. However, Arel sneaks up behind the hobgoblin and attacks him with his new skill, killing him instantly. When Arel approaches to help him, the boy collapses from weakness. Arel catches him and discovers the boy's holy water bottle is broken. He gives him his own, which heals all his injuries immediately upon drinking it. Once he recovers, the boy asks Arel about the technique he used, and Arel says he used a twin blade slice. The boy is surprised by this, as Arel was using this technique without any skill. Arel explains that during their fight, he tried to understand how the twin blade slice worked. After that, he practiced the techniques daily, which has led him to master the technique. The boy understands Arel's point that he has put a lot of effort into learning this skill and challenges him to a fight again. Arel agrees, and they attack each other with the twin blade slice. However, Arel's attack counters the boy's attack and hits him. The boy asks Arel how his attack hit him, and Arel explains that he attacked with 3 slashes instead of 2. The boy doesn't understand how Arel could make 3 slashes instead of 2. Arel explains that his twin blade slice isn't skill dependent, so he can make as many slashes as he wants at once. The boy becomes angry that he's losing his own technique to a boy with no skill, so he challenges him to another duel. Arel accepts the challenge, this time attacking with even more force, causing the boy to fall to the ground. This forces the boy to concede defeat to Arel, who then leaves him and heads home. After several days, while Arel is eating dinner, his mother tells him that Evan's son is leaving for Breastia. When Arel asks his mother about Breastia, she explains that it's a city of swordsmen, and that she used to work in a guild there before she got married. Arel also starts thinking about going to Breastia because he also wants to become more powerful. After 5 years, a carriage heads toward the city of Breastia. It carries 5 people, 2 of whom belong to the advanced classes of swordsmanship. The lady is a dual swordsman, and the man is a barbarian. The lady asks him to work together, but the man refuses because he can't stand her outfit. As they begin to argue over this, the rider informs them that an orc horde is blocking their path. When they notice that the horde even includes an orc king, terror grips them. A woman traveling with her young son begs the warriors to protect them. But despite their advanced classes, they run away to save their own lives instead of helping the helpless. That's when our classless boy, Arel, decides to step forward. With his impressive blink dash skill, he begins cutting down the orcs one after another. But soon, he becomes surrounded, making it difficult to use blink dash again. Then Arel switches to another of his skills, blade dance, and defeats the remaining orcs in a flurry of strikes. The rider can't believe his eyes. That technique, the Supreme Class Sword Princess's signature move, can only be used by women. Arel leaps onto the Orc King's head and delivers a fatal blow, taking him down as well. After clearing the path, Arel asks the rider to continue their journey toward Breastia, saying he wants to become stronger. The rider remarks that he already seems plenty strong, and asks about his class, only to be shocked when Arel reveals that he doesn't have one. 5 years ago, when Arel was training with his mother, he showed her his twin blade slice skill. But since Arel was a classless boy, she thought she must be dreaming. Arel explained that he had worked hard to learn the skill from scratch. He then asked her to show him her sword princess skill, since he wished to learn that as well. Farah realized her son was a prodigy, and decided to teach him her skills so he could one day go on an adventure. After reaching the sword city of Breastia, the rider wakes Arel up. Arel notices that the city is filled with swordsmen, most of whom belong to advanced classes like the rider. Although the rider tries to claim he is just an ordinary man, Arel can tell he's not, since he was able to precisely identify skills on the spot. The man finally admits that he belongs to the Advanced Holy Knight class, and sometimes takes trips as a driver to refresh himself. After saying goodbye to the rider, Arel heads inside to find a suitable guild. He notices several guilds trying to recruit swordsmen. As Arel wanders through the city, he encounters a blonde girl who asks him to join her guild and quickly brings out a contract to make him their member. But Arel refuses, realizing from her desperate behavior that they must be a minor guild. The girl lies, claiming they are famous, and even offers to go on a date with him. Arel still refuses her offer, teasing that she's as flat as bread, and instead wonders which is the most famous guild in the city. Forced to admit defeat, the girl tells him about the Black Blade Guild. Arel then goes to the Black Blade Guild, where the guard informs him he must pass a test to join. For the test, Arel heads to the reception desk to register himself. But when the receptionist learns that Arel is classless, he laughs at him and tells him to leave. Arel requests an exception and promises to prove himself in the test, but the receptionist refuses to give him a chance. After learning the harsh reality of the world, Arel takes his resume to several other guilds, but each of them refuses to accept him. After getting rejected by nearly every major guild in the city, Arel decides to use the letter of recommendation Farah wrote for him to join her previous guild. As he searches for his mother's old guild, the blonde girl keeps following him, begging him to join hers instead. Arel ignores her and continues his search. When Arel finally reaches the address mentioned in the letter, the same girl shows up again and pleads with him to at least visit her guild. When Arel notices how huge the guild building is, he wonders why they are short on members. The girl admits that they were once the famous guild Dragonfang, led by the Duel Sword King, but have now become the weakest among all. The name rings a bell in Arel's mind. He realizes this is the very guild he has been looking for. After entering the guild, Arel encounters the girl's drunk father, who turns out to be the Duel Sword King. Arel notices he has lost one of his arms, which must be the reason behind the guild's downfall. The Sword King tells Arel not to join their guild and leaves the room. The girl assumes Arel will now give up, but he assures her that he hasn't changed his mind and signs the contract to become an official member. After reading the contract, the girl realizes that Arel is a classless swordsman and starts panicking, thinking he will be useless. Hearing the commotion, one of her guild members, Reiner, comes to check what's going on. When Lilia tells her that Arel is a classless swordsman, Reiner recognizes him and says they used to train together. Arel takes a good look at her but can't remember meeting such a beautiful girl before. He does, however, recall sparring with someone who had the same hair color. When Reiner tells him she was the one he used to spar with, Arel finally realizes who she is and apologizes for not recognizing her. Lilia still wonders if this is the same classless boy Reiner used to talk about, and Reiner confirms it is, but now, after training for 5 years, she believes she won't lose to him again. She challenges Arel to a match, and he agrees, seeing it as a chance to prove his skills. They arrive at the guild's practice field, where the match begins. Reiner starts the fight with Twin Blade Slice, and Arel uses the same move to counter her attack. But this time, Arel gets hit, leaving him puzzled about how that happened. Reiner explains that she's become stronger, and to prove it, she drops her sword, which is 5 times heavier than a normal one. She also has the bladesman's skill brute strength, which makes her attacks far more powerful. Arel admits she's improved a lot, finding it difficult to defend against her blows. But he's been taking the hits on purpose to learn more about her skills. Now that he's learned everything he needs to know, he decides to finish the fight. When Reiner attacks again, Arel uses his shadow skill technique to sneak behind her, something that surprises her, since it's a supreme class skill among swordsmen. She demands to know how he learned it, but Arel simply says he just learned to move really fast. Reiner can't believe it and starts attacking him aggressively. Arel continues dodging with his shadow skill, and when he strikes back, he notices she's not losing her divine protection. She explains she also has the gut skill, which prevents her from taking fatal damage. After understanding her abilities, Arel uses Obtain Counter, a sword princess counter skill passed down by his mother. With that, Arel wins the fight. Reiner can't believe she's lost again after training for 5 years. The defeat hits her hard. Embarrassed and emotional, she drinks holy water and runs away, unable to hold back her tears. After witnessing Arel's ability, Lilia has no objections left. Arel then asks why the guild is struggling. Lilia explains that they've fallen into heavy debt, and to repay it, they're planning to win the upcoming guild competition battle. The problem is that the battle takes place next week, and they need at least 3 people to enter the tournament. Arel finds it impressive that Reiner stayed despite these circumstances. Lilia explains that Reiner had trouble joining any other guild. No one was willing to take her in until her father brought her to Dragonfang. Since then, she's remained a loyal member. After learning how devoted Reiner is, Arel believes they can win easily. But then he notices something bothering Lilia. She admits that the 3 of them will have to face a group of 5, and they have no idea how strong their opponents will be. While Lilia worries about this, Arel feels thrilled, excited by the chance to fight strong enemies.